And hello good people of the internet, it's I, Tommy Kelly, and this is Adventures in Woo Woo. And in this episode I want to talk a bit about the notion of breaking out of your comfort zones and why I think there's kind of an inherent problem and almost a danger in that. So recently I've been thinking an awful lot about the whole idea of this thing that I've had a feeling about, which is that there's a fundamental flaw with me and more than other people, and I kind of mulling that over in my head. I kind of feel that that's obviously not just me, because you know I'm not unique, I'm not special, so that it has to be, if I have this feeling, you know, it has to be something that's in some way not necessarily maybe universal, but definitely not unique. So I assume other people have it, and I think one of the reasons why this kind of feeling that you have something wrong with you is this kind of notion that you're always a work in progress, that you're something to work, you know, you have to, you're never complete as a person. There's something that you have to keep doing to keep kind of improving yourself. And this is all over the new age, it's all over self-help, this whole thing. And I think about it, and it kind of came to me that this is inherently kind of a bad thing, because it implies that there's something wrong with you, that you're not enough, that you're not good enough, that you're not complete. And while there's this whole teaching that goes along with saying that you are complete, you are perfect as you are and all that, there's just a bigger mountain that says, no, you're not, there's something wrong with you. There's something that you have to constantly keep working on. There's something that you have to work towards to improve, to become better. And the first question I have is why? What are you aiming towards? Why are we have this kind of demand on ourselves that we have to become more perfect or better? Like, what's the end goal in that? That doesn't seem to be anything to, doesn't seem to go anywhere, because as soon as you get somewhere, you have to be somewhere else. And it's this kind of idea of constant improvement or constant movement towards something else. And I mean, you're going to die. That's a simple fact. And whether you have spent your entire life trying to be better than you are, or you've spent your entire life just trying to be who you are, you still end up in the same place. So there's kind of a weird thing that's kind of creeping into my mind about what is the kind of point, not what is the point of anything, but what is the point of this idea of improving? Who are you improving yourself for? And you go, well, you're improving yourself for the people around you, which is fair enough. If you're hard to deal with, like I am in real life, then improving yourself is definitely going to make your relationships better. So you can see that. But improve yourself for the sake of improving yourself because you feel there is something wrong, I think is a very insidious thought that I certainly have inside me, that and I assume other people have too, in that it's not that I'm improving to become better and to be, to deal with the world and enjoy the world more and to be a better kind of persona or a more fulfillment of who I am, or more realistic, or not realistic, a more kind of a better expression of who I really am. I'm in this constant state of improvement because I feel there's something wrong with me. And all the books I read tell me there's something wrong with me. Growing up a Catholic, I've been told there's something wrong with me. Everyone around me tells me there's something wrong with me. Not in a kind of a, out there, very public way, but in this kind of background hum of there's something wrong with you. And which brings me to the whole thing of getting out of your comfort zones. There's a problem I have with that, in that it kind of is, again, it's coming from this whole part of that there's something wrong with you and you should, always be pushing yourself to be better and greater than you are because there's something wrong with you. And the problem I have with this whole getting out of your comfort zone is, when do you know it's getting out of your comfort zone, and when do you know you're just doing things for the sake of doing things? And I bet this will be best explained, I think, as an example. When I was 18, I'd been reading loads of Tony Robbins. I've been in loads of, new age stuff. I was big into Theosophy. I was big into Alice Bailey. And all of these things kind of come from that idea that you're a bit shit now, but you will become gold. The thing I talked about before. But you have to constantly work on yourself. And one of the ways of doing that is, doing this, getting out of your comfort zones, pushing yourself in areas that you wouldn't normally. That seems like a good idea on the surface, and in many ways it is, because there is this case where we're just too scared to do anything, and you have that whole idea of feel the fear and do it anyway. And I do think there's something in it, but I think brought to an extreme, which is the way I brought it, is unhelpful and dangerous. So it came up at one point, I was living above a bar, and this job came up of being a bouncer. and it was a very dangerous street I lived on, in a very dangerous town, in a very dangerous part of that town. And there was definitely going to be trouble. There was definitely going to be ructions. There was definitely going to be me putting myself physically in danger. I'd never done bouncing before. I don't know how to fight. I was never in a fight. Well, I was never in a fight I won. So I was in many fights when I was a kid where I didn't win. And so it wasn't a good idea for me to do it. I was not qualified to do it. I was not, it's not something I wanted to do. It wasn't part of my dream to be a bouncer or to be, you know, and maybe there was a part of me that wanted to be able to handle myself, but I would have been better served, you know, actually learning how to do that. But because of all of this Tony Robbins stuff and all of the new age stuff and all of these things where it says you have to go out of your comfort zones, I felt under pressure to say, yes, I will do that. Even though it terrified me, and even though it was not something I wanted to do. It wasn't, you know, Neil Gaiman talks about the mountain being your goal, and whenever you do something, is it whether you're getting closer to the mountain or further away from the mountain. This wasn't even looking at the mountain. This has nothing to do with the mountain. I didn't even know, well, at that stage I wanted to be a rock star. But this immense pressure I've put myself under, that if something comes up and you feel scared about it, you should do it because it'll expand you as a person and all that. So I did it, and it was terrible, and it really caused an awful lot of stress, anxiety. I was terrified the whole time I did it. I'm 18, 19, and trying to pretend I'm a tough guy at the front of a bar with genuinely dangerous people walking up and down that street. Now, there was an incident where something bad did happen, and I happened to have, there was a friend of mine beside it, and he got the brunt of it. He got headbutted in the face pretty badly. And that was it. I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. And what I came out of that is like going, well, what did I learn from that situation? What did putting myself in massively outside my comfort zones achieve? And it achieved nothing. It achieved, what I learned is that I shouldn't have done that. I'm not equipped to do that. It's not something that, all I learned from it is everything I knew before it. I didn't feel I had expanded as a person. It didn't lead to anything new. It didn't, you know, it didn't do all of the, I didn't get any of the promises that I was promised by, you know, putting myself out there and going through my comfort zones. So there's been a couple of occasions like that over the years or whatever where I felt this immense pressure to have to do stuff that's out of my comfort zone, even if I don't want to do it. And it's kind of trying to work out where is that thing between where is your comfort zone, you know, getting out of your comfort zones, and where is it just doing stuff that you're not into or you're terrified about. And it came up later in my life as well with this whole notion of you should say yes to everything because you don't know where, you know, that will lead to. And it's, again, that's part of like getting out of your comfort zone. And when I've started doing art and trying to work in artists and all that, I did say yes to everything. And what I found is, what happens when you say yes to everything is you end up doing a lot of stuff for free that leads nowhere. And very rarely does anything, you know, that whole thing of, oh, you don't know where you'll end up. I do know where you end up. You end up doing loads of free stuff for people that is of no benefit to you whatsoever. And it was only when I stopped saying yes to everything that things started to move along a bit better. When I started going, no, I don't want to do that. That's not something, or I don't feel I am obligated to do any of this stuff. And maybe the whole point of saying yes to everything is to realise that it's a stupid idea to say yes to everything. Or maybe there is a point in your life where you should say yes to everything because it allows you to, I don't know, better delineate what you actually want or something like that. So this kind of thing of saying yes, pushing your boundaries and, you know, becoming greater and all of these kind of things come in. It comes from, I think, this idea that we feel, or at least I feel, that there's something wrong with me. That there's something that I need to, I'm sorry for the background noise, it's just a constant thing that no matter where I go, I'm in the middle of a forest and there's construction work going on. I spent the entire day yesterday driving around trying to find somewhere which would be quiet, and it took me like 2-3 hours and a failed attempt. Anyway, here nor there. But yeah, this kind of fundamental flaw within me that needs to be fixed, that I need to be fixed, and that I need to do stuff because I'm broken. That I need to get out of my comfort zones because what I am isn't enough. That I need to say yes to everything because what I want to say yes to isn't enough. Or that I need to do things that terrify me because my kind of view of the world is too closed and wrong. And that I need to go out and see the greater world and all that. So I don't know ultimately what the whole I was going to say where I'm actually going with all this, but it's just that kind of idea that don't feel under pressure to have to get out of your comfort zone. And there is a point where you should get out of your comfort zone. And I think the difference is that rather than just doing stuff that terrifies you or pushing yourself or doing stuff that's new to you or outside of what you normally do, I think pushing your comfort zone should involve some part of doing something that you want to do but are scared to do it. An example of this would be doing YouTube videos for me or podcasts or talking about magic in general was something that was afraid of being found out or that I would be ridiculed or something. And so there was a part of me that goes, right, then now you have to do that because it's something you want to do but you're scared of doing. So I think that's a good kind of approach to how to widen or get out of your comfort zones. I don't think doing stuff just because it terrifies you is a good idea, because there's loads of stuff that can terrify you. Like, where's the end point of that? Jumping off a cliff is terrifying. Should I do that because it's, it'll get me out of my comfort zones? Or doing, like taking a job that's completely different than you normally would because in some way it might lead to something else or whatever. I think that's stupid. I think it's rubbish. I don't think that's a good idea, and I think that's kind of forced on us. Look at what you want to do, and it goes back to the last video where it's like, what do you want? Find out what you want to do and then do it. Don't be doing all this other rubbish just because you feel you have to, that you're under pressure to do, or that you have to expand your consciousness, or you have to put yourself out there or whatever. There's no point to that. Anytime I've done that, it has led to basically nowhere. It's led to me to realise that I shouldn't have done that because I've wasted my time. I was just putting pressure on myself to do something because ultimately I feel flawed. So if you are going to get out of your comfort zones, which we all should, start by a point of looking at things and go, what do I want to do? Where do I want to be? What is my goal here? And then pick the points that are scaring you about that and then do them. Not picking points in your life that are scary and doing them for the sake of them being scary. Don't say yes to everything. That's such a thing that's especially going around in any kind of creative kind of communities or advice is given. Say yes to everything. You don't know where you'll end up or where you'll do. You do. I do know where you'll end up. You will end up doing loads of work you don't want to do, mostly for free, and that will not get you where you want to be. It will get the people who you're doing it for where they want to be, but not you. And I have a whole other thing of don't do anything for free as an artist or a creative person or any person. I think that's maybe a time and a place when you're building up your skill and looking for stuff, but you should get a benefit out of it. It should be that, that'll be a piece for my portfolio, or that will get me a bit of street cred, or that will get me, something, but not doing it just for the sake of saying yes to everything. Not pushing your comfort zones or getting out of your comfort zones for the sake of terrifying yourself or wrecking yourself because you feel fundamentally flawed as a person or something that you have to work on. And just this whole notion of that there's something wrong with you, or there's something wrong with me. I'm speaking mostly about me to you in the third person, but this idea that there's something that you're not good enough and you have to constantly improve yourself and you have to constantly be in forests surrounded by a lot of noise. It's an insidious thought. It's an unhelpful thought. It's bugged me and has held me back and destroyed me and has put a lot of stress and anxiety and pressure on me, unneeded, that I don't think is helpful, and I hope you don't have that. And if you do have it, have a look at it and just see, can I get rid of it? Is it something that is this true? That we have to look at some of these thoughts we have, some of these ideas we have about life, and actually sit down and go, do I actually believe that? Is that something that is helpful to me? Or is that just something I've been told that I kind of taken on board as, the gospel or the truth, or in some way, the law of the land or whatever? And I think this notion of comfort zones, of always saying yes to everything, and this idea that you're fundamentally flawed and it's something to you of always to work on, I don't think it's helpful. I think there's a lot to be said, and just be who you are. Try your best. Go look at stuff that you want to do and do it, even if it terrifies you. But if you don't, that's okay. Don't be putting this immense pressure on you to be a better person than you are, because that's just like a society thing of that you're not good enough. Start by the affirmation of that you are good enough, that you are a good person, that you're worthy, that you're worthwhile, that you're not fundamentally flawed more than anyone else, that you don't have to improve yourself to be accepted, that you don't have to be constantly feeling bad about yourself and pushing yourself and trying to be accepted, or keeping up with the rat race or the Joneses or whatever. You're fine. You're probably an arsehole in many ways. I certainly am, and that should be stuff you work on, whatever, but not because society has demanded it, because you want to, because it'll make your life easier. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's all I wanted to say around that. To reiterate, comfort zones should be, get out of them, but only if it serves you, only if it's getting you to where you want to be. Saying yes to everything if it serves you, if you get something out of it. And remember, you're cool, you're grand. Just relax and stop feeling so crap about yourself that you have to be something, you have to constantly prove your worth to the world, the universe, society. So, good people of the internet, until our next adventure, be well.